Bitcoiners, hope you're doing great. Daniel, back in the game. We love it. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Good morning, Daniel. I'm feeling better today. I still got a swollen. It's the other one. I got a swollen. No, it's this one. I got a swollen ear. But we're okay. We still can't hear out of it, but that's fine. We've put some medicine in there. We're gonna be fine. All right, we're gonna be fine. Good morning, early birds. Thanks, Double B. Catacombs, good morning. Quentin, hope you're doing great, my man. Thomas, dark and chilly morning, but hot coffee and SBF found guilty. Warm me up, Bitcoin family. Indeed, we predicted that SBF was going to get convicted the whole time, I believe. I don't think we ever said he wasn't. I think sometimes we might have said, could it be possible that he's not getting convicted? But my theory already a year ago was that because he didn't complete the donations to the politicians, he was twisting in the wind. So that's what I always saw. He just didn't give enough money. That was his problem. We'll talk a little bit about him today. It's kind of a past story, but that's okay. Bomotatus, good morning, everyone. Hola, amigos, senoritas, hand, pink, waving. What's up? Where do I sats? Hope you're doing great. Ben, rise and shine. Teammates, let's brew some success. Tommy, make Bitcoin art, not fiat war. Perfect sentiment on this morning. We're going to be making Bitcoin art today and definitely not making fiat war. Bon matin. Good morning, Bitcoiners. TGIF, Hoddle T, Washington. Wake up to breakup. Good morning, Bitcoiners. P-Man, good morning. Hope everyone's got their coffee from Hirsch23. King, Mensa, Musa. Welcome to Florida, where Bitcoin is the new gold rush. Unfortunately, sorry about your governor. Poor guy. Poor guy. You got to feel bad for him. Good morning, friends. Good morning, Jevy. TGIF. Psychopaths. We love the psychopaths. Aaron. Stack. That's why God gave us 2 ears. Indeed, one of them still works. Yeah, I got an okay ear situation going on the other side. So there we go. Sean recommends. And Robert, let's do it. Let me confirm. Bit dark this morning, but a total and complete sunrise on the east coast of North America. And Bitcoin's running. So let's have a coffee and talk about what is new. Now, any of these days where I miss a day because I wasn't able to do this yesterday, the Moscow time piles up. Like it really piles up. You don't even realize how much Moscow time there is out there until you see it pile up. So I'm gonna I could have done a whole hour this morning on Moscow time. There's that much Moscow time, but it would have been. I don't even know how to produce an hour-long show of just fake news. Like I don't know the tone to take. It wouldn't make any sense, right? So we're only gonna do a little bit of fake news, and then we're gonna talk about the other amazing stuff that happened in the past 2 days. But let's start, right? Let's just start, right? Let's go to the New York Times first. They're always a great source, right? So this is from the World of Birds. Okay, guys. So the birds, right? The bird names, no good. It turns out that racist. The birds are super racist. The New York Times telling us birds in the Americas will no longer be named after people because people are racist. That would make because the racism transfers with the name. So then the bird is also super racist because of that. I didn't read the whole article. I'm just guessing that's what's going on. Here's what they say. The American Ornithological Society has committed to replacing all bird names derived from people so as not to honor figures with a racist past. Thank God. Thank you for the racist bird names disappearing. Okay, that's great news. This one's great. This is also from the New York Times, right? So we got a lot of trouble in New York these days, right? You got the people walking around taking down the posters of the kids, and then this and that. Everyone's fighting, right? Jewish people, Muslim people, everyone's fighting in New York, right? But New York Times weighs in, right? So they found out it's not the Muslims or the Jews that have to be angry anymore. It's the posters' fault. Okay, here's the headline: how posters of kidnapped Israelis ignited a firestorm. It's the posters, right? Just stupid posters. They're causing all this trouble in New York. How do we still have posters? Terrible, terrible posters, just making everyone go crazy, right? Geez, posters, really the worst. So we've got poster troubles. We've got ABC News here, right? So ABC News, a year after Elon Musk bought Twitter, X is now a worthless platform, some say, and is no longer safe for who? Who does ABC News say X is no longer safe for? It's the activists. Okay, ABC News so worried, the activists. Just it's not safe for them. What are they going to do, right? So it's been a year now, it's worthless. Okay, so you could we could probably just buy X for like nothing. It's worthless according to ABC, right? He paid 44 billion last year. It's gonna turn a profit this year. That's what they're saying. It's gonna be cash flow positive and turn a profit, but stupid people, doesn't work. Now some really amazing ones today. I mean, really amazing. Okay, so I'm not kidding. I found this. Hunter Biden yesterday wrote an op-ed, and USA Today published it, right? It's written by Hunter Biden, an opinion contributor, right? So this is what Hunter is saying. He's saying, I fought to get sober. Political weaponization of my addiction hurts more than me. That's the title. My struggles and my mistakes have been fodder for a vile and sustained disinformation campaign against my father, President Joe Biden, and an all-out annihilation of my reputation. What a victim. This is bad news. Let me see. Brian Stelter comes out with a quote. So Brian Stelter says, Hunter Biden, what troubles me is the demonization of addiction, of human frailty, using me as its avatar, and the devastating consequences it has for the millions struggling with addiction, desperate for a way out and being bombarded by the denigrating and near constant coverage of me and my addiction on Fox News. More airtime than GOP presidential candidate Ron DeSantis, and in the New York Post, an average of 2 stories a day over the past year. Oh my God. So now, that was Brian Stelter reading the quote he shared from Hunter Biden. So that's Hunter Biden's words, but I wanted to put it in Brian's words because he was sharing it earlier. So Brian has a book coming out. I'm going to let you all know, right? It's called Network of Lies. Network of Lies. Next book. And it comes out, and it's going to be all about Fox and Tucker Carlson. So it's the Network of Lies, and it's about Fox and Tucker Carlson. Okay, so there's a book coming out written by actual Brian Stelter. Now, we've been learning a little bit about Mockingbird publication contracts for writing. So since he was let go by CNN because he was so great at his job, he's got a book deal. Wow, what a winner. He's so cool. Way to go, Brian. You're awesome. So that's actually out there, right? They did this Hunter Biden addiction thing, and Brian out there pushing it. This one's also good. Salon. Okay, Salon. It's one of my favorite fake news sources in the world. Like if ever there's a morning and I'm like, oh dang, MSNBC not publishing enough fake news today. New York Times couldn't find anything. I know that I can go to Salon and really find the good Moscow Times stuff. So here's what we got. MAGA and Christian nationalism, bigger threat to America than Hamas could ever be. Yes. They actually said it. It's an amazing article. It's just amazing. It's filled with all kinds of amazing details about how MAGA people are just a second away from coming in your house and kidnapping and cutting your kids' heads off. Right? That's in there. It's in there. I don't know what to say. All right. So MAGA and Christian nationalism, right? A bigger threat to America. They're a bigger threat than Hamas. Okay. That's a headline. Now, finally, this one is, it's not quite as amazing as some of the other ones we've read. But it brings us to our theme. You know how I like to make Moscow Time roll right into my theme, right? That's always what I like to do. So this one is Joe Biden talking about AI, right? So yesterday we're going to talk about this Elon Musk and the Prime Minister of England. We're talking about AI in England. We're going to bring up about a bunch of that stuff towards the end. But first, we got to listen to our own United States American president talking about AI. So this is what he says. He says the issue of AI was seemingly inescapable for Biden. This is from the Associated Press, and it is also fake news. At Camp David one weekend, he relaxed by watching the Tom Cruise film Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. The film's villain is a sentient and rogue AI known as the Entity that sinks a submarine and kills its crew in the movie's opening minutes. So this is a quote, right? If he hadn't already been concerned about what could go wrong with AI before that movie, he saw plenty more to worry about, said Reed, who watched the film with the president. The president watched Mission Impossible on the weekend, and now he's fully equipped to make AI laws, and he's ready to go with the AI thing, right? So, for real, that's what they're going on. Now, what we got to find him to get help with, right? And this is the most important part. He saw the AI thing, right? He's going to make some legislation. I guess Kamala is fired from that job, right? They've moved her over to Islamophobia now. We're going to talk about that too. But yesterday, here's the most important thing that came out of the president's office, right? And it's related to a bill that was passed yesterday in Congress, which is the $13.4 billion spending to Israel, which was offset by a decrease in money headed to the IRS, right? So John Kirby, who is honestly when they can't get the Karine Jean-Pierre out there, he's even better because he's got a natural villain smile. Like, he can't get rid of it. Like, he's even got the permanent wrinkles, a bit like Gavin Newsom, where he just can't help but look like the Joker. Like, the Joker when he's like smiling when he's trying to kill people. Right? Gavin Newsom looks like that. But this Kirby guy is even there. He could be giving you the worst news ever, and he's got this like really big smile on all the time. It's wonderful, right? So here's what he says, right? And he's the National Security Council spokesperson. So he goes out there when Karine Jean-Pierre, it's a little too dicey for her, right? So they send him out there. And he says the following, right? The president would veto an Israel-only bill, right? So the guy who's trying to figure out AI, right? He would prefer if you just shoved all the money together and then he just signed off on that, right? Because it's easier to understand if all the money is together. Right? If you split the spending, right, then it's, I guess, no good according to the office, right? And that, in the end, to me, says everything we need to know about what's going on with Israel, what's going on with Ukraine, and to me, anyway, offers the only context that we require, right? That the president is now willing to veto a bill simply because it split spending and showed exactly what's going to Israel, shows exactly what's going to Ukraine. They can't mix it all in together, right? They can't mix it all in together is a major problem. So I do believe he's going to veto this. But the problem with it becomes, with everything we've seen in Israel, with everything that's going on in Ukraine still, with what's going on domestically in America, with Biden coming out and saying this, you have, I think, one of the more interesting things, which is Biden now has to thread the needle and keep together the Obama coalition, right? The Obama coalition with real political skill. Now, the Obama coalition was always young people, women, and minorities, right? That was the Obama coalition. That's what allowed the Obama coalition to win in 2008 and 2012. And the Democrat Party is still based on this Obama coalition. But here's the fun thing. It's what I've been saying for a long time. Watching Biden try to do the job is like one of these amazing Sisyphean punishments. Like, it's one of these amazing things where you be careful what you wish for because you're going to get it. Now, the whole concept of a vice president, first of all, is always to be a little bit of a shadow of the president themselves. They can't shine as bright, right? So Biden was already a bit more of a dim light compared with Obama. Now, lots of people here hate Obama. I get it, right? I'm not a huge fan, but let's just be honest. A lot of people are fans still, and a lot of people think he was really talented and really skilled at his job, right? So he was, and if you might not, he might not work on you, but he's still effective in keeping people together and of his coalition, right? He can certainly irritate and drive some people away. But let's not forget, he is skilled, right? Him sitting in Biden's chair today, I think the situation would look a lot different, right? But no, here's the logic, right? So Biden was already sort of a dimwit compared to Obama, right? So, and Trump, even though he glows and shines so brightly, there's no doubt Mike Pence was like the dimwit compared to him, the less brilliant, less attractive candidate, right? So the case of already Obama going for Biden, and then you look at Kamala, right? So Kamala is the dimwit to Biden, right? So she's like double dimwit compared to Obama, right? She might be the greatest example of like diversity hire, not really the right person for the job, got it because of women and black, right? So there she is. And now she's been put in charge as of 2 days ago of, now get this, rising Islamophobia in America. All right. So you got Jewish people hiding in attics in New York City. Okay. You got all kinds of stuff going on. And you've got her coming out and saying Islamophobia is the problem. Now, some people picking up on this and saying, Stephen Miller saying, on the same day Hamas leadership goes on international TV and declares their goal is to erase Jews in Israel off the planet. It's just stunning that she comes out here, right? So he goes on to say Jews are getting locked inside of libraries and told to hide in attics, right? So it goes on and on about how all this stuff is happening and how she's the person now in charge of it. Some people are saying, right, putting her in charge of it is like the best way to make it even get worse because she's so incompetent. Jessica Vaughn with a really cool point here, right? Saying the following. You got to pay attention to this. This is Jessica Vaughn, I think at her best, saying Kamala shifting to wartime olive uniform. Don't miss the signal. The Dems have to court the Islamic voting base with the left hand while the right hand funds Israel's operations in Gaza. It's also a great way to reduce the rights of all Americans when we inevitably voice support for one side or the other, where everyone's in violation of the protections of the population of the crisis. Fascinating what's being poised in both fronts, where the option is staying silent and the whole conflict to avoid risk. So anyway, the point here is that first of all, the thing Jessica notices, this olive war thing, really perceptive, like really, it's all about the messaging and this and that. But indeed, watching her try and keep this Obama coalition together, right? Because you need that. You need all of these Palestinian supporters, but you can't let the Jewish vote just disappear, right? So you've got to try and do this thing at the same time, but it ain't working, right? Now, again, remember, we're watching Joe Biden try to do this now and then hiring Kamala Harris. These are the less shining lights than Obama already, right? Now, the person Obama beat, you had Hillary Clinton, right, in the 2008 election. She ran in 2016, as we all know. So she's been getting it's now becoming like a sport. She's getting heckled everywhere she goes. So she went to Columbia University to give a lecture yesterday. The school walked out, right? The school walked out of her lecture. This is what they say. Students walked out of Hillary Clinton's Columbia class in protest against the university. So this is that Jewish part again with, what's going on in New York City with all of this stuff. So they walk out of her thing. Blue Box David Marcus says the following. He says, this could literally be the end of the Democrat Party. It's been building since Obama was elected, and it's starting to break, right? This is the coalition itself starting to come apart, right? So you can see the ethnic vote, the young people all at once, right? The women not going over well, right? None of this stuff. So even the baby piece has really divided the Democrat Party with what's going on, right? So you go from there, and then you take this, for example, just to show the weakness that you can see setting into this coalition fracturing. You get Nancy Pelosi, this is in Politico, right? She comes out and says that there's a new thing called no labels, right? It's another third-party attempt. And the third-party attempt will be to just like shake the box on this coalition, right? So this new no labels thing is a mix of Democrats and Republicans. It's not an RFK thing. It's another middle of the road thing, as far as I can tell, right? I don't know much about it, but she comes out yesterday and does an all-out attack on this no labels. And guess what she says, right? Guess what she says. So this is another party or another coalition. They're just going to try and get on the ballot, and they don't like Democrats. They don't like Republicans. They want to punish everyone for what they've done, right? So this is Nancy Pelosi giving a speech yesterday talking about something I've never even heard of, and probably you guys haven't either, right? It's pretty obscure, but I'm trying to show here what I think is a bit of mind reading, but what I think is their perception that this is an actual threat, or their weakness, right? This is where I think they're starting to get nervous. No labels is, guess what they, of course, what they say, right? What do you think they say about what the problem with no labels a third party is? What do you think the problem is? Let me tell you. No labels is perilous to our democracy. They jeopardize the re-election of Joe Biden as the president of the United States. So here we are, trying to worry about this obscure third party thing, right? So again, the coalition, Hillary, young people, women, minorities, this new party, right, that's coming out of nowhere. Now let's look at Eric Adams, right? Eric Adams. So what has Eric Adams been known for as a Democrat lately? Eric Adams said the open borders thing is a disaster, right, for New York City, because the border states have been doing the old Martha Vineyard trick, right? When the thing that Ron DeSantis started, right? Ship them all to sanctuary cities. Hey, sanctuary city, you said you were a sanctuary. Here's your practice your sanctuariness, right? Here's some people. And of course, they've even made a movie in Martha's Vineyard about the weekend where they had, some not white people on the island, other than the Obamas. And so they're still talking about it, right? Like how a place came together. And so the border states continue to ship these people to big cities, Chicago, New York. New York is absolutely flooded, I'm told. I haven't been. But it's causing a lot of trouble, right? People are complaining about it. People are arguing about it. Eric Adams came out and said, New York City can't survive. They can't survive, he said. This will kill New York City, these open borders. There's people, he even said, hey, guess what? There's a limit to the amount of spending we can have. He even said that. He said there's a limit to what we can spend, right? So people are like, oh, what do we do? He even came out when Kamala did the Islamophobia thing. Well, he's in New York. That doesn't work in New York. You can't just say, oh, Islamophobia. Don't forget, New York City is a quarter Jewish, like 1 in 4 people you meet. Like 1 in 4 people, and locals especially, right? Very much the locals of New York very often are Jewish, right? I've lived in New York City. I lived in an extremely Jewish neighborhood. And I can tell you that most people you meet in these neighborhoods are Jewish. It's very, very common. There are as many Jewish people in the East Coast of North America as there are in Israel, right? And that's about all there are in the world, right? The Jews are sort of split half-half between America and Israel. There's about 7 million of them in Israel and about 7 million of them in America. A few in LA on the West Coast, but mostly the population centers are New York City, where, again, we're dealing with over 1 million Jewish people in New York City. New York City, as I understand, would be the largest Jewish city in the world if you just count the population of Jews who are there. So more than Tel Aviv. There's more Jewish people in New York City than there are in Tel Aviv. So Eric Adams can't just do this, Islamophobia. He had to go out 2 days ago and say, no, we have a problem with Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. No good. He's getting raided today. He got raided. The FBI has run into his home campaign finance thing. FBI raids Brooklyn home of chief fundraiser for New York City Mayor Eric Adams in what appears to be campaign finance related investigation. Now, I don't know if this is related to him not reading from the script, but to me, I mean, maybe I'm putting too many racial layers on this, but I see a Democrat Party who's worried about someone who's speaking out of line, right? There's a word for that. There's a word for that in the old way of describing things in America, and it's not a nice word, right? Remember what they used to say, uppity, right? Is he acting uppity? I mean, why else would they give him so much trouble? All he said is, we can't do this. He's made clear policy pronouncements, and now he's getting the Donald Trump treatment, right? Now, I don't know. Maybe he is a criminal. I don't know. I don't know anything about Eric Adams. I know a few Bitcoiners who met him early. Seems like a cool guy. I like that he's fit. I like that he talks about health to New York people a lot, right? I don't mind the veganism thing that he's on because he looks like he's healthy and fit, right? Of course, I prefer steak and all these things, but I mean, he's got a neat and tidy look to him. I don't have a problem with Eric Adams in general. In general, I don't have a problem with this guy. And when he comes out and says the truth, New York can't survive this. I'm like, okay, that's good. Like I don't. I'm a refugee of New York City, and I love New York City. I wish New York City would be livable again, and I want to see someone help it. I'm not an anti-Eric Adams guy at all. I would have probably voted for him for mayor, honestly. There was a few other people I liked, but I don't have a problem with a Democrat like Eric Adams as long as he's willing to say these things, right? That they can't live as a sanctuary city any longer, and that they have these other troubles, right? So he's getting investigated now. I don't know if it's related. I don't know. But what I do know is that with this story on top of it, the Obama coalition is actually fracturing, right? The ability to keep all these people together ain't going to hunt. It's not going to stick. And again, go back to this idea of Kamala being the dimmer wit than Biden, and Biden being the dimmer wit than Obama, right? We're pretty far down the dim wit road here, and watching Biden try to solve this is funny. Right? It's funny with his mind degrading and his inability to walk forward one foot in front of the other. Yang's a dirtbag, guys. Don't fuck Yang. Yang had a chance to be the mayor of New York, and you know what he did? You know what that dumb fucker did? He went on the race thing against Eric Adams. He hired, I could have set up all kinds of stuff for him. I reached out to his office, but he took those, oh, you're too many crypto bros helping you, too many bro people. So he hired race baiting people in New York City to run his campaign. Fuck him. Honestly. Nah, garbage. Absolute garbage. Garbage. He should have stuck to what he knew was the issue. Remember when that thing became an issue last year or 2 years ago, the Asian and Black people fighting? He jumped into that and made it a problem. He should have stayed away. He should have gone above that. He didn't. So he's canceled as far as I can. Like, I'm not interested in him anymore, is what I'm saying. Like, the minute he did that, the minute he pivoted and hired the race baiters to run his campaign, he forfeited any middle of the road shit. It's all gone. All gone. I won't ever bother with that guy again, right? Garbage. And he still sits there, right? Dude sucks. He fucking sucks. Look, I directly contacted his office when he started to run to help him. And the minute they started kicking people like me out, saying we're going with the race stuff, I said, this is one of the phoniest people you'll ever find. One of the phoniest people you're going to find. Now, not only that, just late to the game. Like how could you be so stupid to not know how things were trending, right? So major mistake. He said he wouldn't free Ross. Yeah. I mean, honestly, what a loser. Absolute total loser. And I won't shy away from that at all. I gave him a chance. I spoke with him a lot in Miami a couple years ago. I spoke with him a lot when he was getting going. I brought him to his first show in 2019. I booked him for a show in 2019. I booked him when he was still running his campaign to be Democrat leader. I gave him all kinds of airtime, met him, hung out with his campaign team. That's how I was able to get in with the New York thing. I thought he could win the New York thing, right? I honestly believed he could, and he could have had he been smart, but he decided to go down. The problem with being a sort of dim-wit liberal is they're going to go for the brighter lights. They're going to go for the real thing. We tried this in Canada, and I knew it from the start. When Stephen Harper lost to Justin Trudeau, which I predicted, the fake news said, oh, Justin Trudeau's line was sunny ways. That's why we won, sunny ways, because the conservatives were so angry and all that stuff, right? You know the whole story. So they chose the next time, the conservatives, a leader who was sort of a liberal, like a happy kind of guy, you know, like no opinions and all this shit, just a vacuous bunch of sludge. But he smiled, cherubic smile this guy had. So the cherub would smile, and they thought that was going to be Trudeau. Well, guess what? If liberals have a choice between the real thing and a fake version, they're going to take the real thing. No one wants a cover band. No one is listening to cover bands. No one likes cover bands. Cover bands are fine if you're at a bar and you're hanging out with your friends and you're just wanting to drink and and they're playing music you kind of like. You're not going to be like, oh, there's a great cover band playing tonight. Well, maybe you will. I like Grateful Dead cover bands, but that's another story. So they're just not a thing, right? No one is going for the fake version of the real thing. And why be the fake version? So it didn't work in Canada and it wouldn't work anywhere. And he was going for that thing. All he needed to be was himself. All he needed to do was take a book out of the RFK page, right? This is what Tucker says about RFK, right? Here's what Tucker says about RFK. This is pretty much all you need to do, right? This is what Tucker says. So let me find it here. It's not in my normal notes, but I want to read it to you anyway. So Tucker was giving a sense of his thoughts on Kennedy, and said basically, here he goes. This is what he says, saying, "I know Bobby very well, and I am totally convinced, just on a human level, that he is an honest person. He's certainly not in anyone's pocket. Bobby Kennedy could have had an infinitely easier life than the one he's chosen. He's doing this because he sincerely believes it. He is giving a massive middle finger to the establishment, almost as aggressively as I've ever seen anybody give," right? So that's what stupid Yang Gang should have done, right? Just say the truth. Like all Kennedy is doing, his whole campaign is just to say what he thinks. That's his entire campaign. I'm going to say the truth and weather every single storm, right? So that could work. That could actually work. Oh, here's a piece of fake news that I didn't get to. Let me just add it. Fresh COVID wave threatens Christmas for a third year in a row. Don't do Christmas, guys. There's too much COVID. It's too much COVID. So here you go. And this is what I like. So this is the simulation giving us a bit of a wink, right? So you get the coalition fracturing. You get what I see as not being able to read the room at all. Like not even being able to read the room a little bit. Islamophobia at this time, like separate spending at this time, all of these things, it doesn't look good, right? It doesn't look good, and it's causing a lot of doubt. And that's what is so fun to watch Biden have to deal with. Watching him as his mind degrades have to deal with problems that were way worse than what Obama had to deal with. Obama set the table, and this guy's supposed to be sitting down with the meat already cut and the dinner prepared, and all he's got to do is host this banquet, but he can't. The thing's falling apart. And what I love, and this is the symmetry, this is the simulation winking at us, right? This is, to me, I think one of the funniest things we can imagine. So imagine, as we're heading into auditing the Fed, which we're going to talk about, there's a bit of a conversation about that. When we're talking about all this kind of stuff and being able to read the room and all that. And then the problems before them, right? The problems before these guys, you get Joe Biden, right? Having to try and keep this coalition together. But it turns out, and I didn't know this. Do you know the old encryption wars where Whitfield Diffie and the Chipper clip and all of this stuff? Do you know who started that? It was Joe Biden. Joe Biden, right? This is from Toby Lutke, who's the Shopify CEO and founder, a Canadian. In 1991, Biden kicked off the encryption wars. Now it's AI. History rhymes. Joe Biden kicked off the encryption wars. In 1991, Joe Biden introduced 2 bills containing anti-encryption language to prevent private emails: the Comprehensive Counterterrorism Act and the Violent Crime Control Act. He had effectively declared war on math. But why? And they get into this, right? So this is from the actual New York Times article. Since the introduction of the so-called counterterrorism bill, recently introduced by Senators Joe Biden and blah, blah, blah. So it's been going on since then. So the guy who went after the Clipper chip is now having to keep a coalition together that would do way worse than this thing from back then, right? So here's the fun part, right? The contrast all of this coalition falling apart, the young people, the women, the minorities, and look at what Trump did yesterday, right? So I'm telling you, these guys can't read the room. We're dealing with dimwit after dimwit, trying to keep together the thing that the smarter person put together, Obama, right? So Obama put it together. The dimwits are failing. The people who are already lesser than him failing. And then you get Trump, right? So they can't read the room. What does Trump do yesterday with all of this shit going on? What did he do? He announced the American Academy. Okay, listen to what a clever idea this is. Listen to this. This is someone who isn't just good at reading the room. He's good at reading the room and instantly hypnotizing them all at the same time. There's never been anyone better. So here's what it is. It's a free, federally funded online university called the American Academy. He said it's going to ban wokeness and jihadism. He's going to ban wokeness and jihadism, right? Allow credentials to be used to apply for government and federal contractor jobs. This is more or less what Bitcoiners need from a different point of view, but when it comes to tax receipts, right? If we could pay our taxes in Bitcoin and it was counted as currency and there were no more capital gains tax on it, just like in El Salvador, we'd be there, right? We'd be done. It'd be game over. So this is a little bit the same. It's along the same line where he's saying actually now federal government hiring is going to treat the American Academy Free Online University credentials as the same and equal to the fiat disgusting Harvard degrees, right? So then he's saying grant credits students for past coursework. So this is for anyone who hasn't finished college at whatever stupid place they went that they ran out of money to pay for. They're going to get to go. All of that stuff is going to get transferred over. They're going to get to count those credits, right? He's going to tax the large universities' endowments so that they taxes them into the ground to pay for it. Love it. Love it, right? And finally, he will sue and fine institutions that fail to uphold free speech laws or encourage anti-Semitism. But it gets better, right? He says, we spend more money on higher education than any other country, yet they're turning our students into communists and terrorists and sympathizers from many, many different dimensions. We can't let this happen. Right? So he says all this, but here's the important part. He gave one example of a course they're going to teach. One, right? He says all these big, broad things, right? We're going to teach this and we're going to give you course stuff. So this is all the system. But he did talk about one particular course that he wants this academy to offer, and that is financial literacy. How to run a business, how to read a balance sheet, something that no one with a PhD even understands based on the way our system works, or a master's or a bachelor's or any of that shit. They never learn any of it, right? So Trump comes out and says, we're going to teach financial literacy at the American Academy. Well, what has taught financial literacy better than any other system in the world? Of course, it's Bitcoin. Of course, it's Bitcoin meetups. It's Bitcoin events. It's things like this, right? We've been at the forefront of financial literacy for 15 years now, and it's not going to stop. We are the best distribution system for education about this, the best way to make it sense, and it's going to go in that direction. So while all this is going on, while you've got the coalition falling apart, right? And even here's another proof even of like the coalition falling apart and what Trump is against. So Trump is reforming education. He's going to go into the financial literacy. It's going to become a big deal, right? At the same time, you've got Mike Benz saying the following thing, right? So Jeff Bezos has announced that he's going to move to Miami, right? So Bezos moving to Miami, right? Leaving Seattle. And Mike Benz says the following: it's been fascinating watching Bezos' quiet red pill journey since A, getting jacked, all right, Bitcoiners will recognize that, B, souring on progressivism after his scorched earth battles with Amazon unions the past few years. Make no mistake, leaving Bill Gates' Seattle for DeSantis and Gates' Florida is a big deal. Ben says the following: gobble, gobble, one of us, we accept her, we accept her. And this is about about him coming over and changing his mind, and the new right, I guess they call it, is a Glenn Greenwald piece. So we'll see. Now, I just mean it in the context of the coalition fracturing and how capable it is of attracting smart people, right? So Bezos, which I've said for a long time, the thing with the Washington Post is it puzzles me daily. Like, how is this even possible? What is he doing with this thing? Is it a blackmail job? Why is he bothering with this thing? Like, what's going on here? So when you see this kind of thing happen, you're starting to be able to read that maybe he's not going to play ball with these people anymore. And it would be a big asset to come onto the other side, right? So, the Obama coalition fracturing, their ability to even persuade. Look at how they're having to deal with this. Is MSNBC of all places. This is the kind of criticism you're already getting on MSNBC. They had Stacey Abrams on, right? And Stacey Abrams had to say the following: I think President Joe Biden has been an exceptional president. But for elected officials and those of us who want to see people show up, participate, and re-elect Joe Biden, we have to meet people where they are. Basically saying this guy is not going to get it done, right? This guy's not going to be able to do it. So the focus then turns into how do they keep the coalition together, right? You've got Trump understanding that universities, I mean, really reading the room better than anyone, saying that actually one of the main things that are driving Americans nuts is the cost of college and the effectiveness of college. He's removing both of those things at once. At once, he's removing both of those. So the coalition, again, being based on these young people, being based on minorities and women, they're the ones who've been dominating the colleges and have been creating this environment. He's making an economic case here to compete against them in a way that they simply will not be able to handle, right? Having a free system against them is going to be a big, big problem. Now, when Trump at the school says he's going to be talking about, he's going to be teaching financial literacy as one of like the main subjects, look at what this is going to do for people that are already teaching financial literacy from the Bitcoin point of view and that understand the system design behind it. Wait until Trump understands that financial literacy from Bitcoin will allow you to see the actual arguments around election credibility in an extremely clear way. Wait until he understands that these are the same subject, that financial literacy, understanding Bitcoin, understanding the engineering tensions between convenience and credibility and how it applies directly to election systems. Wait until he understands that. And I think you're going to have a very powerful persuader, and it's all sort of happening at once. You've got Colorado trying to say that Trump can't run in the election, right? I think the Supreme Court is going to say no to that, right? I don't think that's going to be a problem. That's that thing that if you like participated in an insurrection, you're not allowed to be a presidential candidate. And now you get Ken Buck, right? But just to show you where things are going and the coalition breaking and where people never forget, politicians have one ability, right? And I'll always say they have one ability that is real, right? Politicians can, when they're good, know which way the wind is going, right? So Kamala, not good at knowing which way the wind is going, right? Biden, not good. These are the dimwits, right? These are people who were chosen already because they were lesser than, right? They were chosen because they were lesser than. Biden was not going to eclipse Obama. That's why he was chosen, right? Kamala can't eclipse Biden. So you're dealing with derivatives here, right? So he will. Trump will be, man. He definitely will. So you get the Joe Buck, right? Joe Buck, if you guys don't know, he's one of the Republican never Trumpers. He's one of the folks who will always vote, oh, Trump did insurrection. So he's not going to run in the next election because he doesn't want to run with the party that does election denialism. Now, everything he does it with the Jake Tapper pleading face. He's always like, I'm so sad about my party. You know, it's the manipulation of his pathetic facial expressions. So he's saying he's not going to run because I'm in an election denial party. While at the same time, just yesterday, right, we had an entire election thrown out in Connecticut. So why was it thrown out in Connecticut? Well, it was thrown out because the proof of cheating was so obvious the judge couldn't even look at it further. The judge was just like, this is insane. Like just photo after photo of ballot boxes, ballot bags being stuffed into the box, right? Just total and complete cheating. So the financial literacy argument allows people to understand the election argument. A totally failed election system or education system won't allow them to see any of that stuff. And so the ability even to follow the money in the beginning is not really there. And if you can't follow the money, you can't really understand what's going on, right? So the coalition coming apart, the university piece, they can't compete. Look at what Prof. St. says about colleges, right? There's two quotes here. You get Wall Street Silver saying the following: "Why are so many people quiet quitting? You wonder why so many young people don't trust the system. It's America 2.0. Brainwash kids for 8 hours a day until they're 18. Tell them they have to go to college and 100K in debt, or you'll never succeed." Prof. St. says, "We put kids through 12 years of day prison, followed by 4 years on $100,000 of beer-soaked brainwashing. And we wonder why so many come out either dead or on the inside feeling betrayed." So this coalition is not going to stick, right? And if there is now incentive to learn about financial literacy, we're going to get to the end of the story, because we're going to understand elections and we're going to understand the money. And the money piece is going to become even more relevant and topical. You had yesterday Rand Paul starting a process to audit the Fed. It's not going to go anywhere, right? We've been hearing about audit the Fed for a long time, right? Audit the Fed, audit the Fed. But we'll see. We'll see. Let me see where it is. Senator Rand Paul calls on the U.S. Senate to audit the Fed. As Milton Friedman famously explained, inflation is taxation without legislation. My amendment would require a full audit of the Fed within 1 year. It's time for the Federal Reserve to operate in a manner that is transparent and accountable to taxpayers. I ask for a yes vote. Now, that's happening while Arthur Hayes printed the following yesterday, and he says, "Let's play hide the bailout. It's my favorite game because politics is all about misdirection. Everyone scrutinizes every line of the Fed balance sheet, so they can't hide them there anymore. Now they hide them in the FDIC's balance sheet, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation." And he goes into the data. And he goes, "Thanks NDR's Joe Kalish for helping me out, where the FDIC is hiding the money lent to the likes of JP Morgan to gobble up bankrupt regional banks like First Republic. The FDIC is a direct arm of the US government. So if they need money to fund loans to, that's the TBTF banks, the too big to fail banks, it must be financed by Grandma Yellen at the Treasury. When the banks start going bust again, look here for the record of the bailout." And here's what he says: "While the Fed might be tightening, the entire US government is loosening. Don't get it twisted." And so we're dealing with this situation where the education system has failed. It's allowed for something like the Obama coalition to exist in the first place, profiting off of people's ignorance, stupidity, and ease with which they're manipulated. But we're all pretty easily manipulated, right? So once you go from there and you start realizing that when Trump singles in this education piece, singles one type of course, financial literacy. Now, in his mind, it's more for starting businesses, right? That's the thing that Republicans don't really get yet. That's why we're still not quite there. Republicans understand Democrats are completely brainwashed, completely, right? Now, Republicans only understand themselves to be brainwashed a little bit. They don't understand that there's one level of brainwashing that even has them spellbound, and that's the money. They still are patriotic about the US dollar and all this stupid shit. Trump too, right? But now, Trump's worst worry is the elections. So now that you get something like this is what Elon Musk said, right? So Elon Musk comes out and says, and this is about the Connecticut thing: "Judge orders a new election in Connecticut town after surveillance video showed ballot stuffing in drop boxes. That this happened here is beyond reasonable doubt. The only question is how common it is," right? How common do you think it is? I think it's Republicans too. That's why it won't get fixed. If it wasn't Republicans too, it would have been fixed a long time ago if it was just one party, but they're all doing it. So what you need are voters who understand the engineering principles of the system. Weirdly, the engineering principles of voting systems are taught through financial literacy of Bitcoin. So the American Academy is going to teach Bitcoin, because Bitcoin lets you understand election systems just as much. It lets you understand how the stitching of state and money happen, and how the separation can happen, how you can tear them apart. So here we go, right? We've got a situation where it's now a race to persuasion. It's a race to either educate people about financial literacy, audit the Fed, break apart the constituent parts of the totalitarian government we've created, or the Obama coalition holds and what it needs to hold is a complete lockdown and control of the media. Otherwise, it doesn't work. That's where the AI thing is coming from, right? That's why they baked this woke shit into the AI, right? Because then if they can just say, in the same way that Mike Benz has been telling us for a while that it's all about middleware, if they could just say, "Oh, look what the AI said." Oh, what do you mean? It's racist. I didn't say it. The AI said it. It's got to go. Can't. This is going to favor someone. No, can't do it. Right. And that's why when Elon Musk gave the interview yesterday with Sunak on AI, the stupid people out there are already laughing. Oh, you should have heard Elon Musk. He said the craziest things. Oh, he's dangerous because he controls satellites now. You know what he said about AI? That it might be your friend. Well, that's exactly what it will be. That's what we've been saying here forever. My whole book, Satoshi Wedding Murders, is based on AI being your best friend. Your best friend. Elon believes it too. The job of AI is going to be to help protect you from fake news. You're going to say to your friend, "Is this fake?" Right? And your AI is going to go, "Yeah, super fake," right? And that's what's going to allow people to understand financial literacy. Because this shit, like, do you think any of us have the time to do what Arthur didn't even know about this? This is somewhere on a balance sheet of the FDIC. No one is ever going to understand this shit. It's too complicated. Too complicated. But the good news is people are figuring it out. And if you have some type of cognitive help from an AI, you're going to have protection against this. AI will be a type of iron dome for fake news. It will help protect you. And it will help protect you and help you manage your Bitcoin because it's going to be aligned by those same things, right? So, the persuasion race that we're in, and I think we're going to understand it even more, right? We're seeing already that the coalition was calibrated. This Obama coalition was calibrated on that early generation internet stuff, right? The early generation internet mass communications. It's a Facebook thing, right? The coalition was a Facebook thing. It was a get it into the fake news, get Moscow Times stories, get them shared on social media, suppress opposition. Well, the game changed. The game absolutely changed. And Barry Weiss has the look here. She's saying now, and people are finally saying it. It's what we were saying for a long time about TikTok. TikTok, whenever you heard the argument that it's data security, you were being robbed. You were being robbed by people who didn't give a shit about you and were clearly bought and paid for. And I would even put Rand Paul in that group, by the way. Rand Paul, who's talking about auditing the Fed, go find out where he gets his money from, right? He gets his money from a fella. I forget which American company, but it's like they were never great, but they did the seed round of ByteDance and TikTok. So now they're rich as shit, and they've been given so much money to him. All right. So Rand Paul on TikTok, garbage, absolute garbage, right? So he's not innocent either. But here's what Barry Weiss is saying. And she's saying the reason why you're getting all of these Hamas huge parades in America and around the world, she says it's because of TikTok. And we're not on data security here. We're on brainwashing, which is what we've been saying for a while. Remember we talked about how TikTok has a heat button where they can heat your brain? Remember they admitted that publicly? Yeah, we got a heat button. Sure. You don't think they've been heat buttoning this shit? Right? So this is what she says, right? This is written by a Republican congressman who now gets it, finally gets it. This is in data security. He says, why do young Americans support Hamas? Look at TikTok. The app is digital fentanyl made by China, and it is brainwashing our youth against the country and our allies, right? And I think that's true. I really do. And not only do I think it's true, this idea of getting brainwashed is where we need to head with this election, right? We need to understand that Trump is good at brainwashing, that it's all brainwashing. Bitcoin is brainwashing in the sense that the feedback you get from the economic system gives you more confidence in the system you're supporting, and that makes it more credible to you, right? But that is a form of persuasion. It's a form of subconscious persuasion, which we are angling for. We would like that, right? Having the spirit of our subconscious sound money with a decent feedback loop where we can understand our own problems and shortcomings and failures is much better than the debt-based subconscious we have, which is just creating this hole in our hearts because keeps us unsatisfied, empty, and you can always throw more fake money at the problem, which has created the distorted effects we have, which has prevented us from doing any Jungian individuation and being able to settle our own shadows and dark sides, both on a societal and personal level, right? So the truth in the end is going to be that a little bit of financial literacy will end up giving us more literacy in elections, more literacy with the media, and should save humanity. So Trump's American Academy, I think there's no doubt, going to be teaching Bitcoin. It's the one class he said about that he talked about financial literacy. It's the most important thing. When Trump understands that financial literacy, and he can't save the dollar like he did back in 2019, or at least can't pump the dollar the way he tried to in 2019. I've said it many times here, Trump was so good for the dollar that he would delay Bitcoin's inevitability. He was that good. And as a Bitcoiner in 2020, you kind of had to do your best to as a Bitcoiner in 2020, when you knew what was coming, if you understood the election systems and you knew what was coming, I had to make the best of what I had. And I said, I'm for Joe Biden for these reasons, not because I act like, I'll always love Trump. And of course, I was almost in tears when Trump finally lost. I didn't want to believe it, but I could see it coming. And I was telling everyone, Biden is going to win. And as a Bitcoiner, you do your best to make good of it. And what I saw was, okay, I'd rather have a guy who can't do the job, who started the Clipper chip investigations, which I didn't know about 30 years ago, and is now back in place trying to keep this coalition together while he's got dementia. It's perfect, just perfect, right? So there you go. That's what I got for today. Thank you, guys. Congratulations. The Breakup is one of the best, freshest, healthy live streams on the internet. Thank you, Veterans Cannabis. We appreciate it. This is awesome. Silver linings. Yeah, I'm not trying to look for silver linings, but, we're getting there. All right, let me get some of these quotes here. Yeah, I went to a private doctor. I can't access Canadian healthcare, by the way. I'm not doing it. Yeah, it was just paid cash. Muslim Bitcoiner. Islamophobia. So 2001 Kamala, don't need a revised Patriot Act from that. When I waited tables at an authentic Mexican restaurant decades ago, the night of the Grateful Dead concert, we were slammed like no other night ever. It was super crazy busy. I couldn't see straight. Yeah. I like the cover bands. UBI is euthanasia for get money, like UBI. Could be. Same thing, supporting, pushing COVID lockdowns. Yeah. Out of complete political field, who is the Bitcoin hero who saves the day and America's future? I mean, I don't think Trump has had his part yet in Bitcoin. He might not. I mean, he's got limitations. As much as I love him and as smart as I think he is, I just think the angle is going to be the elections understanding. I think he's going to be able to see that. I hope. Give me some time with him. We'll get him there. Vacuous pile of sludge. Yeah. I mean, Bukele could actually help America. And he already is, So paying for indoctrination of socialist criminality and brainwashing, age of stupendous stupidity, thus moral horrors is here today. They sure are. Yeah, I don't think he's on the Warren team, P-Man. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's not a good look. No. But again, remember, I've always said this. The most devastating attack ever on Bitcoin was his thing, because he didn't use like logical arguments. Oh, someone's controlling it. Like, in my book, the um, Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management, I derive Bitcoin first contact stories. I use those first contact lore in order to calibrate the manipulation you should use. It's not an argument or advice, it's literally manipulations. The manipulations you should use on those NPCs to try to, at once save yourself and protect yourself, because if they're hypnotized to kill you, they will. But this is also a way to sort of energize them and maybe wake them up. So it's all calibrated. There is no way to put his answer in my matrix because it's the least PC answer you'll ever find. I'm not a fan. It's devastating. It's devastating. There's no argument there. There's nothing to hit back on. It was very effective. Typical Trump. He found the one. Now, Bitcoin's strong enough to resist it, so it's not a big deal. But it was an actual, I think of that, the in the Avengers Infinity War, right? When it's like, Iron Man uses all of his wizardry and he finally gets one punch on Thanos, and Thanos just like all that for a drop of blood, a little bit like that. Like it's Trump with all of his persuasion doing his best. And he landed a punch. He landed an actual punch on Thanos, on Bitcoin in this case. And, but it didn't matter. It's just literally, it's all that for a little bit of blood. But I recognized it for what it was. But just imagine what the opposite would be now. Imagine Trump not saying, oh, Bitcoin is great because it's 21 million, uncensorable. No, he's not going to say that. He's going to go, I'm a fan. It's like elections, something like that. Like it's going to be tight, typical Trump, better than anything I could come up with, or any of us, or anyone can come up with. This is his actual art form, right? His art form is lightning rod attention installation, right? So you want attention on something, get him to put the lightning rod in, and it's just going to get whacked all day long. I've seen that once. I saw, I was coming out of a baseball game once in Toronto, and the CN Tower is right next to it. And because it's so tall, it was just like, it was a big lightning storm. And I'm telling you, it was getting hit like every second. And plasma was coming off of it. I could see the plasma like falling because it was just getting hit again and again and again and again and again, right? That's what Trump can do for Bitcoin. Just snap, snap, snap. The whole world will pay attention if he does it, right? It will elevate now, because of who he is, it'll elevate the whole conversation. And again, I think that the whole audit the Fed, financial literacy, what went on at the Fed, the trusted third party banking system, blah, 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 all of that is an easy corollary to understand our election interference, our election corruption, and all of that. So I do believe Trump is going to be able to put them together. I hope he's going to be able to put them together. I believe he will, though. It looks inevitable to me. It looks like you can't stop the intersection of these lines. They're not running parallel. Trump's understanding of the economy and his desire to put America at the top of the economic system, both in energy and now in education, by putting financial literacy there, it will run directly into the elections conversation. So not to say that we're going to get the elections cleaned up by the next one. They're definitely going to be crooked as a question mark. But hopefully, we see with no labels and the coalition breaking, I think it's getting beyond the point of cheating. Again, it's the reason why for the 2024 Bitcoin Nashville show, I'm going to have a lot of Trump surrogates there. Because I anticipate he'll be. I don't think I can go right to get Trump, but if I can get enough surrogates, either they kill him and our show becomes like the greatest wake of what happened, or like gathering point where we can put it all together. And I think at that point, once if Kennedy or Trump are murdered, assassinated, people's minds are going to be open big time to the scale of change that's required. Now, I'm not hoping for either of them. Of course, I don't want to wish that. I don't even like putting it out there. But when I program my event, I'm programming for next July that there is some significant assassination, which is going to focus the need for separation of money and state like we've never seen. And so a lot coming in the next year, guys. A lot. Jihad against jihad against ignorance and stupidity. Speaking of cover bands, yeah, of course he was cheated. Of course he was cheated. We know he was cheated. But I have no proof. I have zero proof. I can still believe that the anti-Trump vote was big enough for him to lose. I just don't believe it. Now, it's possible, and I can see the path through which he doesn't win, because anti-Trump sentiment is so high that it is credible that he lost. It's credible. You could actually make the argument, but not without any not just like because I have to believe you because they didn't find any proof. Well, if you don't look, you don't find, right? No one looked. They looked in Connecticut, they found it, right? They looked in Wisconsin and they found it. So there you go. The only response, yeah, well, have fun staying poor it's one of my jinxes so the whole book on Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC management. It's all written in spells to counter the dark magic of fiat and the dark persuasion that it has people spellbound and hypnotized by. So it's almost all counter curses and counter spells. And one of them is the have fun staying poor jinx, which a certain subset can be prodded out of their sleep when that happens. So there you go. That's what I got, guys. Yeah. It was created to be attacked. Absolutely. But all I mean to say again is that Trump, like, if you saw that movie, right, all the engineering that went in, it was the most talented human being, Iron Man, and managed to get one in, right? And it was a joke to the person who, like, it doesn't bother me that Trump landed a punch on Bitcoin, is I guess what I'm saying, right? But he did. And I've never seen anyone land a punch. Never. Bitcoin is the Floyd Mayweather. You know, the most amazing thing about the boxer Floyd Mayweather, he's never been punched. It's not just that he's 50 whatever wins and 0 losses. No one's ever punched him. He's that good. He's that fast. Like, imagine you make it against everyone in your category for 25 years. And not only are you the greatest champion who's never lost, you've never been punched. He's never been punched. He's too fast, right? So, you know, it's I don't mind if there's a bit of contact. Bitcoin can handle it. It's not a big deal, right? Other than Trump, no one has touched it. No one has even come close, right? So that's from a rhetorical point of view. Of course, physically, the network has been attacked, and there have been a couple of early on sketchy moments, but not even that big of a deal. But, you know, a different time. All right, there we go. That's what I got today. Okay, team. I got to go you're going to hear some amazing news at 9:30 this morning. Like, great news, like funny, really funny. It'll be breaking news, and I'll be doing a spaces at 9:30 on X. So come and join. You're going to like it. It's related to auditing the Fed in a way, but it's remarkable. It's like a mix of Missouri versus Joe Biden and the First Amendment stuff and the audit the Fed stuff. I mean, I couldn't have hoped for something better to happen to me and to Bitcoin Magazine. So tune in at 9:30 if you want some fun, really fun, really fun stuff. There is currently a embargo. I can't talk about it until the spaces, but you're gonna love it. It's amazing. I could not have asked for something better to happen to me personally, and it's good. It's good news. All right, peace. See you at 9:30.